Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Coup Coach Cast with Jim Glogowski. I'm Chad Birger. I'm joined today by my number one homie, my number one boo, Coach Glow, and Sam Dooyema, who is also great. It's great to have him back. You can follow us online on X at the Twitter handles that are listed on the screen. As always, we're proud to be sponsored by Atomic Wings and Unlimited Painting. And Cougars came out in week 3, and had a big win over Bemidji State. So we're going to break into that game a little bit and talk about it. And then we are going to preview what's coming up in week 4. Before we do that, though, I'm going to welcome the guys into the show and kind of talk a little bit about what happened. Coach, welcome back. How are you feeling this morning? Make sure to unmute your mic.
Man, rough start. So is this like a 1A, 1B boo thing, or who's?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like you're dancing in the between here. Like, who's your favorite kid, right? Do you ever say that? I have a depth chart at home. I do. 4 kids. There's a depth chart. There's some days I love them all, but sometimes there's someone on top of the depth chart more times than others. But it's all good. Ben Glogowski is on top of the depth chart right now because he was on the kickoff return. So he blocked up on the kickoff return. So he's 1A right now in the house. So hope my 11-year-old Sam doesn't hear that. But
my mom referred to that as the coat of many colors. I got a big family, so somebody could earn the coat of many colors, and it would go around. So,
well, Coach, obviously, you guys went up to Bemidji over the weekend, and typically that's been a kind of a knockdown, drag-out game over the years, and you guys were able to get on the scoreboard early and then score often in the middle of the game, and we'll kind of pull up the scoreboard here, but it ended up being a 56-23 victory for the Cougars in this one, moving your record to 3-0 on the season, 2-0 in the NSIC. We mentioned, 7-0 right away in the first quarter, and then, unfortunate first turnover of the season for the Cougars there. Weren't able to capitalize later on in the first quarter, but then second quarter put 3 more touchdowns on the board. Bemidji did put one up there. So going into halftime, you're up 28-7. At that point, what was the feeling in the locker room?
Well, you never want to let off the gas, but I felt good about how we had started. We talked about could have probably been up 35-7 or even 35-0, but just a couple plays here and there. And we talked about, Bemidji, well coached. Coach Bolte does a great job with those guys. They certainly weren't going to fold. They were going to come out and try to put points on the board in the second half and get stops. And we had to come out and hopefully, we had talked about this, get a stop on defense, go down and score on offense. And, fortunately, that's something we've been able to do this year, give ourselves some momentum in the second part of the game. And we're just really pleased with the effort. I thought our coaches did a great job, had really good game plans. And, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'll be honest, at halftime. And if you've ever been to Bemidji, it's kind of a unique setting where, you dress up on the hill, and it's about a 5 or 6 minute walk down to the stadium. And then at halftime, you're inside it's kind of an old – I think it's an old WPA, Work Projects Association back in the day, maybe I thought. But it's kind of an old cylinder, concrete structure that you're in kind of at halftime and kind of crowded and cramped. But so we were outside on the grass, kind of fans were walking by using the porta potties and getting a halftime snack. And we're just standing out there talking about adjustments. But it was a little bit warm up there. So we tried to get some fluids and go out and have a great second half. And I thought our kids responded, had a great third quarter. And then the fourth quarter was kind of a little bit of a back and forth deal. But yeah, all in all, it's a really good effort by our kids. And it's a tough place to go play up on the lake up there. It was a hot, sunny day on that turf. And I thought for the most part, we handled it really well.
Yeah, you mentioned third quarter came out, put up 2 more touchdowns there in the third to extend that lead. And, Bemidji did get one more. They missed the PAT on that one. But, at that point, end of the third quarter, it was pretty much well in hand for the Cougars. And you were able to get a lot of different players in the fourth quarter. I heard you mention in the post-game show that, that was good for young guys to get reps. They need to get things on film. And so what's your philosophy on getting those young guys in these type of games?
That's a great question. I'm actually probably a little different than most coaches. Like, the statistical part of things really don't mean a whole lot to me. I just want to win. And I mean that like sincerely. I don't really care about stats and leading the league and total offense and all that stuff, because it can be really, you can take those stats and you can paint a picture however you want to paint them. But we pulled Cam at the end of the third quarter. He actually came out before the fourth quarter even started. We put our other two quarterbacks in. Those guys need to play. Defensively, we got everybody that traveled that was eligible to play. We have a couple guys that we call traveling red shirts that we're trying to preserve their eligibility. And in cases of injuries or whatnot, they might get in the game. And Tate Hoff was a young man that actually got his first game action as a true freshman. But I was really pleased the fact that we played all 9 offensive linemen. We traveled. I think we played everybody except one wide receiver who's a traveling redshirt. Played the running back situation out. All the quarterbacks played. I think defensively, all the D linemen played, and maybe at corner. I think corner and wide receiver are the 2 young men that were traveling red shirts that we probably would have put the corner in, but we ended up running the clock out. But you get up to 4 games, and you just don't know when you're going to use those 4 games. But yeah, long story short, everybody got a chance to play, and I thought our kids did really well, and we made some mistakes just like they did. They had young guys in too. Give those guys credit; they weren't trying to leave their starters in and get stats and points. So we both coaches are, recognize the situation, and you want to get out of there and keep everybody healthy, but you also want guys to get game experience.
Yeah. Well, Sam, go ahead and take us through the scoring summary then.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, and that's exciting. Some guys getting some on the board for you for the first time. But like Coach said, leading off with that opening kickoff on very first play of the game, Adonis Hutchinson, 100 yards. Actually, I think it might have been 101 yards, 102 yards. He took it a little bit behind the goal line, if you ask me. Setting the tone early. JT Frieder's kick was good, and 7-0 early. Kind of felt like it might be one of those Bemidji USF slugfests early on after that first quarter, just 7-0. Kind of feeling each other out, but things kind of turned the corner here in that second quarter, as Chad mentioned. Isaiah Manuel taking an 11-yard pass from Cam Dean, capping off a 13-play, 61-yard drive. And then Christian Janis took a long touchdown pass from Cam Dean, kicking off another short 5-play, 54-yard drive. BSU would answer with a Connor Carver touchdown pass, but then USF would still get one more in before half. Before Coach said they decided to hang out in the WPA bunker there. Dean took a little 9-yard run into the half there, and feeling pretty good there, sitting at 28-7. Coach, I believe you were right with that WPA reference, so nice work. That's some deep cut NSIC knowledge there. I'm impressed.
Well, that's that USD education, that history education major that I wasn't sure what to do with back in 1997. But yeah, WPA, that's a big thing. That's my grandfather actually worked on that down in South Omaha when he was got back from the war. And so, as most of you probably know out there or don't know, those were projects set up by the government. They built things like stadiums and stuff like that to give people an opportunity to have work coming back from the war. And it's a cool stadium. It's beautiful up there. It sits right on the water. We stayed at a hotel right on the water. A lot of our guys, we got Davion Clements from Bronx, New York, never seen a lake before, he claims. So we saw that. And he never saw bird poo on the field, which we also saw at Bemidji, where the birds think the grass is the place to drop their stuff they no longer want. And so that was impressive. Day was a little bit put off by that, but we managed all right.
They come to the Coup Coach Cast here, and you get a history lesson, and USF, the team is getting a geography lesson too. I can't wait to see what they're going to learn on their next road trip here. Some of these guys, they went out west, western South Dakota, learned a little bit, and they went up north. And man, who knows what's going to happen on that trip to Minot later this year? There could be a lot.
Coach, I thought one of the keys here for the first half was Cam Dean. He's just playing lights out football this season. The pass to Emmanuel, the Janis play was for a 4th down. You guys had really good success on 3rd and 4th down in this game, and I think a big part of it was Cam Dean. And then on the run where he just tucked it and ran, that was just classic, Cam doing Cam things. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about Cam. Yeah,
he's been playing really well. He does, and he has to play really well for us to be successful. But, where I made a comment yesterday with our team was, there's sometimes last year or even the year before where if it's 3rd and 7, he's probably tucking that thing and running. This year, it seems to be he's got his eyes down the field. And on the one he hit Janis on, he probably could have ran that thing for the first down or maybe even a touchdown. But Janis was there on the post, and he threw the ball. And Christian made a great catch on the goal line there. But he's done a really nice job of spreading the ball around. And I know Hank's got a few more receptions than the other guys. But for the most part, all those guys and the tight ends have done a really nice job of making plays. And I think there's a high level of trust. And when you trust the guys that you're throwing to, you're more likely to let it rip versus maybe saying, hey, I got to do this on my own. So he's done a nice job of getting his teammates involved. And we've talked about that. I think he actually only had maybe four, maybe 5 design quarterback runs on Saturday. Most of it was a scramble off a couple times. They told him to take a knee, right? He kind of sort of ran to the sideline and got down. And that's a veteran move, because instead of throwing the ball out of bounds, like most people say, in that situation, you take the 1 or 2 yard loss because the clock keeps running when you're up by 42-7 or whatever. And so he even caught me on the sideline. We were talking about kicking that field goal with time running out and all that. And we call it Mayday and running on the field. And he's like, hey, it's going to be 4th down. We can't kill the clock. We got to go Mayday here. And I was like, yeah, you're on it. So he's just really locked in and playing at a high level.
Yeah, good stuff by Cam. We'll break some of this down in the coach's clicker later on, but very impressive showing. So then the second half rolled around. Sam, take us through the second half scoring.
Absolutely. USF getting the tight ends involved here, keeping it up, and Dalton Wood with a 19-yard pass from Dean, capping off 7-play, 45-yard drive. And then Wood would take in another one from Dean to answer there, capping off a 9-play, 52-yard drive. Bemidji would squeeze one out there right before the end of the third half, but as Coach had mentioned earlier, game kind of felt like it was in hand there at that point. And we head into that fourth quarter, 42-13, kind of get a second round of scoring here as kind of all the reserves and freshmen started getting some reps in here. Bemidji had a 37-yard field goal from Matt Nelly. Kristen Nash ripped off a 69-yard run. Frieder's kick was good. And then Bemidji squeezed out one more touchdown here, capping off an 11-play, 75-yard drive. But then Jordan Smith kind of felt like NSU redux, except for the coup this time, ripping off a 1-play, 75-yard run to finalize the scoring here at 56-23. So really kind of spreading the love a little bit, getting some of these freshmen involved. Great to see. Coach, you said it about Cam, but I think my big takeaway from the game was just to see the confidence growing in this team. I think it stems from Cam. He's one of the leaders there, but I think it's across the board. I think, like you said, you talked about the calmness this team had. Frankly, it worried you a little bit before the game started, but it's been fun to see just the confidence of this team growing. I think at times they maybe got a little high too low in the last few years, and now they're starting to say, like, all right, hey, we know how to take care of business. We can do these things, and they're starting to, I think, realize their potential a little bit. And I'm excited to see how that plays out here in these next few weeks.
Yeah, I'm really encouraged by our mental makeup. You know, we had typically we get to the hotel on Friday afternoon, have dinner, and then go to the stadium for a walkthrough. And at the walkthrough, it was a typical walkthrough. You know, I'm a big Pete Carroll fan, and I remember watching him at USC kind of joke around a lot on Fridays before the game, letting the guys relax and have some fun. And this is the kind of group you have to have the right group that can do that. They can handle it. And our group, you know, Friday night, Zigglebauer is catching bombs from Mossy in the back corner of the end zone on our walkthrough. And at that point, you're watching the guys, and it's kind of like you just watch them have fun and enjoy each other's company. And I think that carries over to the field. And so I guess my point is we're playing right now after 3 weeks the way that we are interacting on the bus, in the hotel. And so having 2 games out of the first 3 on the road and some decent road trips has been helpful for us to kind of create that. But give credit to our players. They've been here all summer long and hanging out. And I think that confidence and that continuity and all those things that maybe some other teams are struggling with, at least in the first 3 weeks, that's been a benefit for us, where we've had a lot of continuity and guys back that have played together. And that offensive line, the running back position, the quarterbacks, even the receivers, those guys have played at least 2 or 3 years together now. And so you're seeing some of those things that are paying off that certainly we paid the price for in year 1.
Yeah, Coach, impressive win, impressive, job. I was talking to you beforehand, but man, 2 years ago we were sitting here just like shaking our heads, like, oh man, what are we going to talk about today? And now these Coach casts are easy. I mean, when you guys are just winning every week, these shows are easy to put on.
Well, Chad, they pretty much run themselves, right? You just hit the button over there on the old machine you got back behind you, and just let the thing run. But yeah, it's again, and I don't take it for granted because I've been on both sides of this. It could all go to in a handbasket next Saturday, right? It could go not well. But so I'm trying to just enjoy the moments, enjoy with these guys. And we spent a lot of time with these kids. And I made this comment in recruiting, but having my own son on the football team is pretty special. But it's given me a parent perspective on it that maybe, I didn't have in the past. Like, for example, I'd taken some pictures at our team dinner on Friday night in the hotel, and I sent a couple of the parents their pictures. And I saw in the Bemidji paper after the game, there was some cool pictures of our kids that I sent to the kids to send to their parents. And so it's probably for me trying to be more, take it all in a little bit with my own son, because you never know, and I'm enjoying my time with him. And he just plays, but he plays special teams, and he's not a starter, but I was pretty proud that he was on the kickoff return team that scored the touchdown. And So I'm seeing it more in a holistic perspective, and I really enjoy sitting in the lobby with the guys on Friday night hanging out, or we have a late night snack, and we have a team meeting, and the team meetings have been really good. And so it's just win, lose, or draw. This group of kids is a really good group, and I've had a lot of really good group of kids. We've had a ton of kids. But I even texted some of the guys on the bus on the way home, and our former players are reaching out, and guys that played for me last year, the year before, they're excited for us. Nick Hernandez hit me up, and Dylan Rudnigan, I talked to him, and Brady Crawford, and all these guys, and they're excited for our success. And so you just want to do well by them. And we've got a big weekend coming up with Hall of Fame and the 16 team coming back, and Luke Papillion. And certainly I know those guys. I've coached against those guys. It was a heck of a football team, but there's a lot of good things here at USF. There's a lot of connectivity with the CFLA and all that stuff. And, it's fun to come on here and talk about that stuff, because I think people care about what we do. And certainly it's a lot more exciting when you win. And that first year was a challenge. The second year was exciting. And we've got a really long way to go. We have a huge game this weekend, and they're all huge, but it's fun to be in a situation where you feel like it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned the 2016 team. Did you know that one of the members of the 2016 program is actually the owner of our newest sponsor this season, Unlimited Painting? Durant Foote, great guy, owns Unlimited Painting. You can go ahead and call for your free quote. We're going to go ahead and play the commercial right now.
Hey, Sioux Falls and surrounding areas. I'm the owner of Unlimited Painting. Our licensed and insured crew delivers professional results on time and within budget. Not only are we quick, easy, and affordable, but we're going to transform your space with lasting impressions. Unlimited Painting, professional, dependable, and done right the first time. We're offering 15% off any exterior project. Give us a call now for a free quote.
Make sure to call Durant at 605-403-9222. That's 605-403-9222. Or hit him up on Facebook. I've got the QR code on the screen if you're watching online. Otherwise, you can visit their website at www.unlimitedpaintingsf.com. They'll take care of all your needs. I know, Coach, we've had some fall weather here. I had those guys come over and stain my deck this summer, and this morning I just went out on the back deck and I enjoyed a cup of coffee out there. The weather was beautiful. Birds were chirping. Sun was out. The deck just looked fantastic. They did an awesome job this summer for me. So I'm really enjoying
the greatest segue in the history of segues, from the 16 team to Durant and his painting company. You are on your A game. I'm not going to even lie. You are in prime segue moderator mode. I can only hope your mass media journalism students could hear you now. This is outstanding.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see what we can do, but I'm trying to do my best here, Coach. But yeah, we really appreciate Durant for sponsoring the show this season. And if you're able to go out and utilize Unlimited Painting services, feel free to do that. So next up, Coach, we're going to bring back the hottest segment in podcast NSIC coaches show that's going on right now, the Coaches Clicker segment. This week, we're going to break down some film from the Bemidji game. So all the video is courtesy of Bemidji State Athletic Department and the NSIC network, where we pulled that from. But to start off with, Coach, we're going to go opening kickoff. I don't know how else to, start this game, how you guys could have started the game better, but, they deferred, you guys chose to receive, and then they kick off to Adonis, and I'm going to try to pause it right here. So, Sam, you had mentioned earlier you thought it was over 100 yards. Tom Frederick was adamant it was 102 yards. According to NCAA statistics, the longest a kickoff return can be officially listed as is 100 yards. They don't have yard markers in the end zone. This is I don't know how I know this, but so they actually, anytime the ball is in the end zone, it counts as officially as a 100-yard return if it's taken to the house, no matter where it's at. Even if it's 9 yards deep, it's still a 100-yard kickoff return.
I appreciate the rules breakdown, Chad. I'll blame the NCAA for being a fun sucker.
Yeah, well,
so I know you're a numbers guy, I know you're a rules guy, but we'll blame the NCAA for that one then.
Either way, it's a long ways. I think we all can agree. That's a ways, and it's a great job by him. And I'm
probably wanted to run into the lake after that. That probably looked nice.
Well, I'm sitting there going, no, yes, and all I said, and I heard Coach Luters in the headsets going, he's got a lane. And you don't see it here, and maybe we have the end zone shot, but I don't think so. But the guys do a really good job. We talk about losing your block to the win side. So if you kind of look over here to the right, you see the black jerseys on the left side of the white jerseys, and they have to run around them almost as if to go to the end zone side or due to the Bemidji sideline. As long as you get your guy to go to that side of you, then we got him. And then the key thing is this double team right here on about the 23-yard line. They do a nice job of not letting this guy get involved. And the key block here, I think, is right there, the cut off of that 34 right there. You got to let him go right there. And that's where a lot of times holds get called. And he just worked his feet. You can see Noah Roberts does a great job of working his feet around. And this is the coolest part. We talk a lot about celebrating your teammate's success. A high five right there is pretty sweet, and we talk about we actually coach up the post-game comments on the radio show. We talk about, hey, what are you selling? What are you saying about yourself if you're not talking about your teammates? And the first thing Adonis said was, I couldn't have done it without the other 10 guys. And hence, not to be a spoiler here, but this is why the kickoff return team got the recognition they got this year because or this week. This is a huge play, and you can celebrate now in college football a little bit as he spikes it there, and you can see the excitement of it. You got let's just go ahead. You got Jordan Madrano, number 0. You got Rudden again, 51. Obviously, 26 is Trey Lewis. Number 7 is Bo Giblin. I don't know who that is. I can't see that left jersey there if somebody turns sideways, but trying to recognize all these guys. Hank's there, Hank Brown. Is that 83? Blake Stahl, I think. Yeah, Blake Stahl, 83. Yeah. You got Ben Glogowski, 35, coming in here. Trey Lewis again, 26. Bo, 7. So I don't know if we got everybody, but really proud of those guys. The first time in several years we've done that, so that was a great way to start.
Yeah, Coach. Easy when you guys have been up 7-0 every single game you played so far this season. Kickoff team didn't let you down on this one. Made it. You talk about playing from ahead, and that's one of the things that you want to do. Obviously, big impression when the kickoff return team can take one to the house right away.
Yeah, definitely we haven't trailed yet this year. We've been tied, but we haven't trailed. And I'm sure that time's coming. We're going to play another good quality opponent this week, and I'm sure that's going to happen. But you wonder as a coach if you're ready for that. But I think we've been able to get out in front and have people chase us, which is certainly the best way to play.
Yeah. So then next video we got up here on the screen. Let me see if I can get this set up here. This one is later on in the first quarter. You had a 2nd and 8 on this one. And I believe you had a little bit of play action. Bubba coming into the backfield on this one, and I'll kind of set the play up. And then, unfortunately, we can't see the receivers on this one, but Hank just gets his guy's hips turned around and gets behind him.
Yeah, and so this is a really good job by Lucas, our OC. So the personnel on the field, the group of players that we're using, it's a heavy personnel package. So we actually have 1 running back, which is Bubba, and then we have 2 tight ends in the game. Both Noah Robinson, number 8, and number 81, Dalton Wood. So we call that 12 personnel. And so when you talk about personnel, the way we do it is you use a 2-digit number. The first digit talks about how many running backs are on the field, and the second digit talks about how many tight ends are on the field. So this is what we call a 12 personnel package, which typically, if you're going to have 2 tight ends on the field and only 1 running back, that's a heavy run package. And using some of this fly sweep type stuff, you can't quite see the safety, but the safety sees the run action, and he sees the number 81 Dalton Wood block down. So he comes down thinking it's a handoff, and Hank does a nice job of kind of getting, and there's Hank right there, number 1. He kind of goes at him. And this is the part, and Coach Lucas, our wide receiver coach, does a nice job with that. But you watch, if you go back just a little bit, you can see Hank attack the outside shoulder of that safety to get him to bounce outside, and then he cuts across his face, and now he's got him by leverage. And so, you talk about these things happening. There's a lot that goes into this play. The protection's really good, and you got the tight end, it slammed down, now he releases. And at that tight end right there, 81, we catch 2 touchdowns on that exact same action later on in the game on the tight end kind of down block delay. And so all these plays have different options, and this is the option we chose to attack, and Hank catches it in stride, and certainly a big-time play.
Yeah, big play. Now, Hank, you're leading receiver yardage-wise and catch-wise on the season, but he still hasn't gotten the end zone yet. We got to get him in the end zone one of these days, Coach.
Yeah, we talked about that on Sunday a little bit, but, it's funny. Would you rather have 2 or 3 touchdowns or 17 catches? Who knows? It's both pretty good situations to have, but it's a good throw and it's a good catch, and, obviously protection. And like I said, we come back to that same action later on and hit the tight end on the delay for the touchdown.
So, Coach, you guys, I think on that drive you ended up you scored on that one. And so then we came back to I didn't want to. No, that was the one you stalled on. So we came back to defense here because the fans spoke and we want to see more defense out of this.
Yes,
so,
I agree.
One of the things I'm going to mention here, I'm not a huge fan of whoever was directing this program. They switched between camera shots very frequently during live action. I'm not a huge fan of that. I do direct a little bit of high school football broadcasts. Once the play's going, stick with one camera, and then you can go to replays and other ones. But we're getting a little bit dizzy here. I mean, we're in this camera shot right now, and then all of a sudden we're switching to this one, and then we switch to that one. But you can't really see a whole lot with what's going on with the defense. But you guys did a great job of getting into your zones and breaking this one up.
Of all the plays. But no, the thing about this is Jay Koch's a senior, grad student, 33. Does a really nice job. This was kind of something we saw on film. They were always attacking the hash marks. And number 4, their receiver here, is going to sit down in the hash. And they're trying to fit the ball in between the two linebackers, Andy Henson and number 33, Jay Koch. And Jake does a nice job. You don't see it, but he sticks his outside foot in the ground. And we just had talked about this before in the series before, that when you see pass, he's got to drive back inside, almost like basketball, and kind of box out that receiver and kind of find him on his back hip. And we almost get a huge play here, but they're getting too – anytime the ball's in harm's way, right? The ball's in the air and we can get a hand on it, putting that ball in harm's way, just like offensively when you put the ball on the ground. Obviously you put the risk out there of not having the possession. So anytime the ball can get tipped and we can get hands to the ball and run to the football, that's when you get big plays. And instead of saying things like, well, they got really lucky on that interception, we like to say you worked your tail off, you hustled to the ball, and then good things happen, right? So luck's generated sometimes by how hard you work.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's see if we can pull up another play here. I had another touchdown for the Cougars on this one. This is the Janis catch that we talked about earlier. So it's 4th and relatively long if you're looking at the sticks here. I think 4th and 6, Coach.
Yeah, we're really in that no man's land. I mean, you're 30 yards. That's a 47-yard field goal. There's some wind. That's a tough kick, right? And I just, quite frankly, my thought is if we don't get it, you punt it. You don't really gain any real estate if it goes out of the end zone. And so you're kind of in that no man's land, and we find ourselves there a lot. But the other thing is, too, is I have a lot of confidence in our guys to get 7 yards. And when you have a quarterback that can run with his feet and is a dual threat, he's got some options, right? And so this is a really good job. We converted 2 4th downs and multiple 3rd downs. But sometimes you look back on the game and you see the final score, you forget these are pretty critical moments here. This is 14-0. If we don't get this, or we get sacked and they got the ball at the 35-yard line with 7 minutes to go or 6 minutes to go for half, and they got the ball to start the second half, this could easily have been a 14-7. And they got the ball to start the second half kind of game, And so this is a huge, like what I would call get over the hump kind of play, because this puts us up by 21, and now you're playing with a lot of confidence, and now the other team is feeling like they're in catch-up mode a little bit. Now they start pressing, and you're kind of trying to put pressure on these guys all the time. And I don't want people to feel like they got to stop at 4th and 2. And now that's just a give me punt back, right? I want people to say, are they going to go for it? And I want to, we did it last week on our own 35-yard line on 4th and 1. I want to constantly put pressure on people. And I think our players love it when you put the ball in their hands, a chance to win it. What I can't stand is on 4th and 2, the offensive line comes off the field and they're going, go for it, right? I think we've talked about that before. You had 3 chances to get 10 yards. But then I also want them to know I believe in you. And we've got a really good chemistry right now where I really trust our kids. And, this is a play that he liked. And you always have a timeout. In today's game, you walk up to the line of scrimmage, and if you got the coverage you like and you think the kid can make the throw and you got confidence you can throw it, then why not do it? I mean, to me, it's no different than 1st and 10 throwing it. You don't want to drop it on 1st and 10, just like you don't want to drop it on 4th and 7. So put it in the kids' hands. You got to play. We had a formation. We got the defense we wanted. You can see their coach is a little bit anxious because he saw that it was going to be open probably. And this is a classic drag dig combination, right? So you just got the tight end running a drag underneath. You got the second receiver running the dig route at about 10, and you bring a third receiver running the post over the top and try to put them in a bind where they got to decide what they're going to cover. And this ball was thrown. I don't know if it was very well thrown. It's a little bit on his back hip, but then give credit to Janis. He got him beat. And Janis was beat. Had the guy beat a couple times. We just couldn't get it to him. But that time, he does a nice job of slowing down. And I'll give this kid a lot of credit, man. He was about 175 pounds soaking wet as a freshman. He played, probably got banged around a little bit. Last year, he was about 185. This year, he's all of 6'2". He's 200 pounds. And you can just see that body and that control. He's able to shield the guy off. And he's got strong enough grip to hang onto the football. And the kid does a really good job of raking the ball out. And Janis just secures it and then tucks it away. And Yeah, big moment for him and all of our guys. And look at the first guy to go over. There's our grad transfer, Isaiah Manuel. He's the first guy over there to congratulate him. And Isaiah's done a really good job. He's done a good job as a player for us. But Isaiah has done an even better job of being a senior leader and a guy that has gotten the respect. He's on our leadership committee, which is incredible that he's only been here since the summer. The kids respect him. I just can't say enough about what he's meant to our team as far as, yes, he makes a lot of plays. He's a really good football player. But that leadership and demonstrating that, because he's 2 years older than both Adonis and Christian. So those guys are our oldest receivers coming in after spring ball at true juniors. They played as true freshmen, their third year in the program. But he's a fifth-year kid who's been through a couple extra seasons, and I think I don't want to say he's the old man in the room because we still got Kel Botsford who's been here for like 12 years, but he's definitely a kid that really brings that. And to me, when you're building a team, those things are just as important as the ability to high point a football. You got to have guys that build culture, and he's one of those guys.
Yeah, and then some of the other guys that help build your culture is your front guys on the defense, and I thought they did a really good job on Saturday. Here we're going to bring up a video with I watched Dawson Raby on this play, and he's at the left defensive tackle on our side here. Number 95. Number 95. So if you're watching like the right guard on the offense, the left defensive tackle, if you just watch Dawson on this play, he bench presses his guy into the backfield and then comes off and makes a tackle with just his left arm. I mean, I thought that was a phenomenal play. Unfortunately, it wasn't for a loss. It was just for a 0-yard gain. So he doesn't get a whole lot of stats or accolades for it or anything. But just seeing him take a grown man, an offensive lineman from another team, and bench press that guy into the backfield was very impressive for me.
And I think that was one of their returning starters, all region players. And I thought our defensive line, if you go back to the beginning of that clip, just to point this out. So, first of all, you got number 9, London Kolb, who played as a true freshman here, then sat out with a year for an injury. So this is his third year in the program. Number 57 is Kel Botsford. It's his 7th year, and that's not even exaggerating. Had an injury, COVID. It's his 7th year, 57. Then you got Dawson, who played as a true freshman, started almost every game as a true freshman. Now he's a junior, so this is his 3rd season. You got Preston Yankee, who's been here. He transferred in, but this is his 3rd year. He's a grad student. And then I think you got Connor Rice, who's in his 6th year at the end. Throwing in Andy Henson, a 3rd-year guy, right? And you got Kay McWilliams, who's a senior. You got 14's a senior. You got on the other side, I think you got Garrett Hoffman over there. And then I think you got another senior at outside backer on the top there. I can't see the digit, but and then Bo Giblin, who's in his 2nd year in the program. That's a lot of veteran experience. And so it's not – I'd love to tell you it's magic and it's coaching and all that. And there's an element that's coaching, getting them lined up. But when you have guys that have been around and they are strong – I mean, Dawson's a 385-pound bench presser and a 700-pound squatter. I mean, that's not something I did. That's what Dawson did to get himself right. I recruited Dawson out of high school. His high school coach played for me at USD, Tyler Legate, at Neely Oakdale. That's where he was out of. And Dawson's from Pierce, Nebraska. And Dawson, I was recruiting in Mankato, and he tore his knee up in high school wrestling and then came back and played his senior year. And everything about the kid I liked because I trusted his coach. I know his coach, and his coach was like, this is the kind of kid that can do these types of things. And he's been a dominant force for us. I think he's one of the best D tackles in the league, certainly one of the best ones in our football team. And those guys do a great job. But it's a great job pointing that out because that stuff sometimes gets unnoticed, doesn't get noticed. And I just can't say enough about that kid buying in and wanting to be a part of the program. And you go 3-8, he could have gone home and said, this is not for me. I'm going to transfer somewhere else. But he stuck in there with me and a lot of those kids that walked in the door. And it's just been so I feel very blessed that those guys have stuck in there and stayed in there. And this is what you talked about 3 years ago. We can do things like this if we can keep getting better. And if those guys all graduate, a whole slew of those guys graduate, then you're going to kind of be where Bemidji's at. Because those guys are great coaches at Bemidji. It's not like we out-coached them. They had a whole group of defensive linemen. All 8 of their D-line in the 2 deep last year is no longer on the football team. That's going to take its toll, and it's just it's difficult. And so I'm sure in the near future, I hope not, but we'll probably find ourselves in a similar situation with a bunch of young guys playing again because it's just really hard to keep developing, and that's why you get high school kids and develop. But, yeah, long story short, I couldn't say enough about how proud I am of those guys buying into the system. And, again, long way to go, but after 3 games, I feel like we're where we need to be.
All right, Coach, let's bring up another touchdown. This one is right at the end of the first half. This is the Cam Dean run. I'll back it up a little bit here so we can see the formation that you guys – well, we can't because the camera work is so shot, like switching back and forth. But you guys kind of had an open set. You had a tight end on the left side here, running back flares out right away. So you've got a little bit of a, trying to open things up. Was this a designed run, or was this something where Cam was looking to pass and then just the lane opened up for him?
Yeah, it wasn't designed at all. We actually were trying to run the tight end shake delay here again, number 81. That had been a good play for us all day long. And so they got a choice. Either they spy the quarterback with him and leave the tight end open, or if they hug the tight end, then Cam has the right to run it. But again, shout out to the offensive line. You got Brady Cope over there playing tackle, Ben Peterson coming off an ACL injury back there at guard, and Jerome Jackson's done a great job at center. Great leader. The seniors having a great senior year. And you got old Ziggy and Mossy over there. Those two guys, like, Frick and Frack over there. Those two guys are like one person. But just, again, that's a veteran offensive line and a veteran quarterback, right? And so that's why some of these good things are happening, because those guys have been through a lot with us, and love them for it, sticking with us. And now we're having some benefits from that. But, again, that's a lot of experience up there. That's a lot of big bodies. I think our offensive line might be one of the biggest ones in the league, one of the strongest and most experienced. And so, again, it's almost, you can't hardly screw it up as coaches, because you got kids that have been there and done that.
And then I was going to bring it up, Sam. Go ahead.
No, yeah, you're probably going to say the same thing. Look at how those celebrations have matured too down the end zone. All those guys there.
Well, and I think that comes back to the CouCast. I don't think if we'd have pointed that out on the CouCast a year and a half ago, we wouldn't be there today. So, again, you say you can't coach everything, but obviously there are some things you can coach.
Hey, you can get a shout out on the CouCast, guys, if you're listening. Just know. We won't flag you. I'm a Vandy guy, as you guys know, and they did a piggyback ride as a touchdown celebration, and they got an unsportsmanlike. I liked the creativity on Saturday night, but
Sam, I can't believe we haven't had that's the first Vandy reference. They're 3-0.
I mean, I'm just trying to let it build. So, I mean, I just like the coup. There's a lot of similarities.
That,
Just fly under the radar.
Let's fly under the radar.
Yep.
All right. So the next two plays I want to show back to back here, Coach, because you talked about them earlier. So the first one, I'm just going to show it in its entirety, and then we'll go to the second one. But this one is that tight end delay that you mentioned. Dalton Wood making a play and then finishing it into the end zone. And, if you're a USF fan, you're familiar with that play. We'll come back to that in a little bit. But then the second one.
Well, the irony about that play is, right, that's the play that we fumbled on last year. We would have gone up by 10 points at the end of that game against these guys last year. And so that was kind of symbolic of him catching the ball and running through the guy and not taking any chances there. So that was pretty cool. That's kind of how it came full circle.
Yeah. And then this one, you've got a big heavy package in there. Adonis, look at that 3-point stance from Adonis. I mean, that's pretty good down here on the left side. But
that's coaching, Coach. Don't sell yourself short. That's coaching.
I don't know how that happened. That must have been a glitch or something, how number 2 got in there at tight end. But, yeah, you never know.
This one's a throwback to the tight end. So the tight end's going to actually block again, but instead of going right down the middle of the field, he just keeps drifting over to the left. And Cam really knows where to find him on this one. And none of the Bemidji defenders were going to stay with him on that one.
And again, give the offensive staff credit. You put a wide receiver down there. Obviously, everybody knows that you're not running the ball, but they all of a sudden say, hey, number 2 is going to go out for a pass. And they almost double cover number 2 on the under route right there. And they forget about the tight end coming back. Again, as long as I'm here, to keep tradition here, the tight end delay, throwbacks, that tight end passing game is always going to be a part of what we do. Coach Lueders talks about when he was a young player or young high school kid watching Sioux Falls throw it to the tight end. And so, yeah, no fear. That's not going to leave the package anytime soon.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And then the final play I wanted to go over, this was, game was well in hand here, but just a little handoff to Christian Nash. And we're going to go back because he's going to break this thing and go all the way. But I want to see the blocking up front. I mean, look at these. This is fourth quarter. You guys have it sealed up. And just watch the dominant blocking from the front line here by the Cougars. We're seeing
that's a great point.
Pancake.
If you look at number 60 right there, this is really, we talked about this in our team meeting yesterday, but number 60 is Sawyer Huntemer. He's a redshirt sophomore from Sioux Falls, Jefferson. And then you got Caden Mason, who's also a redshirt sophomore from Harrisburg. You got Brady Copel out there, who's from Brandon Valley. This might be an almost all South Dakota offensive line, which is pretty sweet in its own right. But watch Sawyer here. He does a great job of stemming down. And then what he doesn't want to do is climb too fast, because then he wheels back outside. He just gets a piece of number 7. Give Sawyer credit, because we were talking about this on the sideline about how number 7 or the backside linebacker was kind of cutting off some of our cutback runs because we weren't getting him chipped. So you just got to get a piece of him. And so Sawyer does a really good job of climbing, staying square, and then just getting a piece of 7. He doesn't have to kill him. You just got to get enough on him that he can't get, scot-free to the running back. And then I'll give a lot of shout out to Christian Nash. He's done a really nice job this fall camp. We challenged him. I mean, I challenged him about being that big back. In the last 2 weeks, I think he's really made some progress. But he hits that hole, man. And he did it last year in a game as well. But, man, this is downhill. And, yeah, there's Caden right there, 73. Sawyer's number 60. Jack Merquan, number 17 from Pierre, South Dakota. Just really happy for these guys. And he's pulling away. They're not catching him. And that's a 235-pound grown man running downfield. You know, he also wrestles heavyweight for our wrestling program here at USF. So that's kind of an interesting story about that kid. But, yeah, and I know we had another one of Jordan later on. That was another 60 to 70-yard run. But trying to get these young guys in the game on offense, and we had those one-play drives, which is kind of crazy. But, yeah, all in all, just really good effort by those kids, and really happy to see those offensive linemen, those younger guys, get some reps.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap up the game here then with some statistics. Sam, would you take us through the stats for this one?
Yeah, absolutely. As we said, Coup running away with it statistically as well. Got the one that mattered, that score there, but 521 total yards to 307 for the Beavers. 273 of those coming through the air, 250 rushing yards, so fairly balanced. Nice to see the penalty yards, 5 for 48 yards total compared to Bemidji. Kind of talking about that youth and maturity. I think that plays out very obviously there in the penalties there with 11 for Bemidji for 75 yards. 24 first downs for the Coup. Chad talked about this a lot. 3rd and 4th down, 11 for 18, 2 for 2 on 4th down. Great to see that. Time of possession, 36 minutes for the Coup. We look at offensively, individual statistics here. We talked about Cam just kind of having his, kind of classic Cam day. Just, 19 for 24, 273 yards, 4 touchdowns. Oh, and add one more on the ground as well. And Hank Brown, he's going to get in the end zone eventually, but still, quiet 7 receptions for 127 yards. Love to see it. Dalton Wood, 3 receptions, 2 of those touchdowns, though. As Meatloaf once said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So love to see it, Dalton Wood. Christian Nash got that 8 carries for 85 yards in the touchdown we just saw, and Jordan Smith ripping one off as well, 4 carries for 83 yards in a touchdown. So glad to see the love getting spread around a little bit on offense.
Yeah, I think Coach Tim Hyatt was mentioning on the broadcast, you guys scored 8 touchdowns, but 7 different guys scored. So Isaiah Emanuel had a touchdown. You had the Adonis touchdown. So it was just like spreading the wealth around in this one.
Yeah, and I think that makes an offense dynamic, or obviously special teams too. But yeah, we're in a good spot right now where a lot of guys are touching the football and we're getting distributed to the right guys at the right time. And we certainly have some things we have to improve upon. But yeah, it's crazy when you sit there. I think he was 20 for 25 last week and 19 for 24 this week, and really efficient with the football, and more importantly, keeping out of harm's way. I don't think the ball was too dangerous to being intercepted. The turnover stuff we got to be clean. We got to play clean football, and we got to convert on 3rd down and run the ball. If we do those 3 things, stop the run the ball, be good on 3rd down, both sides of the ball, and then obviously turnovers. The other stuff will take care of itself.
It's not rocket science, is it?
It isn't.
All right. Sam, how about defensively?
Yeah, defensively, a lot of the same, spreading the love around, and just a lot of guys making some great plays across the board. But you look at these total tackles here and even the tackles for loss, numerous guys with 4 tackles leading the way. Maloa Wells, Garrett Hoffman, Bo Giblin, Trey Lewis. We heard these names mentioned in the clicker segment as well. Connor Rice, Dawson Raby, Bruce Stuka, all these guys getting here on the stat line. And we had those 2 tackles for loss by Connor Rice and Garrett Hoffman as well. I think it just goes to show the level of play that we saw on Saturday as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think there's nine guys listed there, and 70% or 66% of those guys are not starters, which I think is kind of attributes to those guys getting reps. And we only took 20-plus reps at half. So, concern down the road is we're not getting a lot of reps on defense because we've been able to control the football offensively. So, yeah, you want to be able to control the ball as we go, but getting depth, getting reps, and those things, developing that stuff is certainly a point of emphasis.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, I brought up a couple, concerns that I had last week. One of them was on kickoff coverage. The other one was punting. It looked like you kind of shored up the kickoff coverage concern a little bit. I mean, you did give up one, but there was a penalty on it that went out to about midfield. But, as far as the punting game goes, some of the Cougar faithful have a few concerns about the punting situation yet. What's the update on that?
Well, so this week we traveled 3 kickers, 3 specialists, which is a lot, to be honest with you. We have a guy, Scott Dixon, that just punts, and I thought he had a much better day. Part of that, too, is we got to protect for him. You know, when you got a guy getting people, he got ran into again. That's the 2nd week in a row. And dating back to last year, I think that's the 4th roughing the kicker we've had in about 7 weeks, going back to last year. So I feel like every time the poor kid gets back to their kick, someone's running into him, which hasn't been helpful. But I thought he struck the ball much better. I think Coach Hansen's been working with him and just getting him to focus on punting more. And I think that's on me. Probably had him doing too much in fall camp where he was kicking off and field goals. So we've kind of scaled that back. And like I said, we have some young specialists. So Scott's focusing on punting. And then I thought JT's done a really good job. He had one little bit of a sidewinder, but for the most part, he's been clutch drilling those extra points. I feel confident we can kick a field goal with him as well if we need to. And then Alex got a chance to kick off. And I thought, you know, again, he had the wind off the lake a little bit, so we did some different things that we would have done no matter who the kicker was with that wind. But for the most part, trying to change it up. The coverage was better, but it's a whole unit thing, right? Just like the kickoff return is a whole unit thing. We've got to do a great job of ball placement, hanging the ball up there. We had a couple kickoffs that were right around 3.85, 3.9 seconds. So I got a stopwatch and I time all those in a game. Last week, to give you some perspective on the kickoff return for a touchdown, the hang time was 3.4 on the kick. So when you get a low line drive that isn't in the air very long, that obviously affects your ability to cover the kick. This week, we were 3.85 and 3.88 on the kickoff height of the ball. And so that allowed our coverage to get down there. So again, just better overall execution. Coach Johnson, give him a lot of credit. He's our special teams coordinator. We worked on special teams a lot last week, a lot of kickoff coverage. We did not work on punt return at all, which is why we had our safe out there, our defense stayed out there. If you were watching that, we just bare caught those. And so we're trying to be very specific about what we're trying to get better at, and certainly trying to shore up all these areas as we get further into the season. But I thought overall special teams was a positive and a bright light. I think we're making progress, getting better. And, you know, you're also facing some talented guys, you know, and they did have the one return for about 35 yards that we end up getting a holding call on, which obviously that probably helped the return because somebody got held. But, yeah, I mean, all in all, I'm proud of the guys that they're working hard at it and they're trying to get better, and certainly not for a lack of effort, that's for sure. So tell those friends of the program that things are in the right direction. We're trending up.
Okay,
just score every play, and you don't have to worry about punting, coach. Every drive. I mean, it's that simple. You said it's not rocket science, so you don't need a PhD. You just score.
We haven't had, like, I don't think we've had a 4th down inside like the 20, which I feel like is a pretty comfortable field goal. It seems like it's always been the 25 to the 40-yard line, and it's like, you know, we tried the one field goal at Black Hills. That was about a 45-yarder, I think it was, and it didn't go great. So, yeah, I mean, like anything else, we work at it every day in practice. But, hey, if you didn't have people asking questions, then no one's listening. So I guess good and bad, right?
Right. It could be a lot worse, Coach. I mean, like if people are concerned about some special teams, you know, things that they're perceiving, then I think it's going to be okay. Sam, you mentioned the PhD. You played offensive line at USF from 2009 to 2013, but you went on and got your PhD from Vanderbilt University. So yeah, you're almost a rocket scientist. You're pretty close, but
not that kind of scientist.
Closer than you and I, Chad. He's a heck of a lot closer than you and I. I know that.
A little more cellular than that, but yeah. If any friends of the show are listening and you ever try to figure out the Vandy references, I always say I'm a college football loyalist. I cheer for the degrees on my wall, and behind me there's USF degree. Both my wife and I, we got a USD degree for my wife, and we got a Vandy degree. So those are our teams. So that's who we're representing. Vandy cracking into top 25 this week after their upset win over the Gamecocks. But this is the Coup Coach cast. So
yeah,
that's Commodores. So we'll save that for another time.
USD's in good company, that USD degree with Vandy on one side and USF on the other. That's not bad company for that Yote degree.
Exactly. See, this is a house of learned doctors in here. So we're just trying to do the best we can.
Well, let's go ahead and acknowledge our other sponsor while we wrap up the Week 3 win over Bemidji State. Attention, USF Cougar fans. Atomic Wings is back as a sponsor of the Coup Coach Cast this season. Atomic Wings is still located at 1502 East 69th Street in Sioux Falls, just north of the USF Stadium. And there's a new Sioux Falls location at 3217 South Sertoma Avenue, just across the street from Roosevelt High School. Atomic Wings offers customers fresh, never frozen, natural, and hormone-free chicken wings, hand-tossed in 14 or maybe even 15 proprietary sauces now. I think they're adding sauces all the time. The food from Atomic Wings is the perfect complement to football season. Also take advantage of weekday lunch specials. You can get 3-piece tenders, sandwiches, boneless wings every Monday through Friday from 11 to 4. The menu includes traditional wings, boneless wings, chicken tenders, sandwiches, or flatbreads. There's also a wonderful selection of sides. And don't forget the fried Oreos for dessert. Huge portions, excellent selection of food, and a sponsor of the Coup Coachcast. You can't go wrong. There's something for everyone in the family at Atomic Wings. Order online at atomicwings.com or come in, located at 69th Street, just north of the USF football stadium. Perfect for pregame tailgates or post-game celebrations with friends and family. So, as always, we've got the Atomic players of the game for this week. And, Coach, this week, the Atomic players of the game are...
Yeah. Well, the whole entire offensive line. I mean, that's just a great performance. We were going to single out one guy, but just really proud. Not only that, just the last couple of weeks, the time of possession, and I see the strain on those guys. I see the effort that they're putting in, and just really proud of those guys. And so, yeah, the offensive line, and then again, just down to special teams, the kickoff return, another unit award. Obviously it'd be easy to give it to Adonis, and he certainly did a nice job. But recognizing those other 10 guys in the entire unit, I thought was appropriate. We didn't have any punt returns. PAT field goal, JT did his job. It was great. He got his accolades last week, but I just felt like that was a pretty special play. Great. And that just tells you how hard it is to do it. And then defensively, really thought, Maloa and Connor really shined. Maloa really had a good week and finished very physical for a corner. I thought he was very physical. He's got great hair. There's no reason not to honor that. Connor Rice, Connor's kind of been a mainstay, kind of a guy that maybe gets overlooked sometimes, but really proud of him for his persistence. And he's really stepped up this week with the Alex Maxim unfortunate injury. Connor's a guy that we're going to rely on, and he knows that, and he's doing what a senior should do and step into that role. And then scout offense, Jacob and Nolan, a couple of local guys. Jacob's out of T, Nolan's an O'Gorman kid. Pretty proud of those two guys, local guys that are working their tails off, that made a big impact. And I think, quite frankly, their efforts on scouts this week led to us having a pretty successful O&D line performance.
Yeah, you texted me that, and I was like, Young-Ye, let's go. I live in T. My oldest actually graduated with him last year, so I've known Jacob since he was a little guy. But yeah, proud of him. That's awesome.
Love to see the Scouties get their recognition, get their due. As a former Scout Team All-American myself, it's always good to those guys bust their butts and just know you are appreciated and your work goes a long way and your time will pay off. So
we used to call that the all Kodak team, but I'm not sure people nowadays would know what Kodak means. The old Kodak pictures and the look squad, or the picture that you're giving the offense or defense every week. We'd yell that to a guy trying to be all Kodak today because he was trying to get the all Kodak All-American team, but the all look squad. But you can't do it. You can't do it without those guys. And those guys are critical. Not only those guys, but we have injured guys that can't practice that are filming in practice. The bus drivers, the trainers, our training staff with Rachel, the administration certainly, but we can't do it without everybody. And I think that's the fun thing when you win that football game on Saturday and you're having your pizza and getting on the bus to go home, and the trainers are working overtime, putting ice on guys and all that stuff and getting guys ready to go. There's a lot of people. I think we have almost 85 people, if you count the bus drivers and everything else, and coaches that go on a trip like that. So that's a big travel party, and there's a lot of pieces that have to work together to accomplish one goal, and that's to win on Saturday.
Well, Coach, speaking of winning on Saturday, you got the big win, but now this Saturday, you've got another tall challenge coming up here. Got Duluth coming into the Bob on Saturday.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge. They're a good football team. I've watched them already. They obviously went to Mankato went up to Duluth and beat them. That's the third time in a row Duluth has defeated Mankato, so that's impressive. I think Coach Weesey's been there for 12 or 13 years. He's won over 100 games in the conference. Incredible program. National championships in that program at the Division II level. Certainly, a force to be reckoned with. They've obviously played outstanding defense. I mean, they've given up. Put that in perspective, we gave up 23 on Saturday. They've given up 28 all year. And I've seen that Winona game already because obviously, they played up at TCO Stadium up in the Vikings practice facility to open the season. They put it on Concordia in all facets: offense, defense, special teams. They returned a kick, I think. They returned an interception for a touchdown. And then again last week, they held Mankato to 269 yards, I think. Held the ball for almost 40 minutes or plus 40. Pretty impressive, really impressive. So certainly the biggest challenge to date, there's no doubt. Certainly the team that we're going to play has the best record coming into the game. They're going to be hungry. We got them here last year, and they had a kind of an unfortunate deal where their starting quarterback, I think they decided the night before the game not to play him, so they started their backup quarterback last year, Jacob Eggert, who actually is a kid I know really well. He's from Mankato East, went to high school with my son, so saw him a lot growing up, was over at the house, did a great job for him last year. He scored a touchdown last week, came in when Walljasper went out, and I think he's the key to the game. It's Kyle Walljasper. He's the trigger man, the quarterback, fifth-year senior, very similar to Cam, does not get rattled, not nearly the size of Cam. He's about 6'1", 240 pounds, so he's an absolute load. They run option with him. He's a quarterback run game threat. They've really developed their tight ends over the years. They've had some really good tight ends. They had a kid last year that got to an NFL camp, and then this year they have another young man who's a redshirt freshman, kind of like what we call our J-back, kind of like Noah Robertson, if you think about that body type, 6'3", 205 pounds, really a big receiver that creates a lot of matchup problems at the slot, tight end box area. I think he had 10 catches last week for 100 and some yards. He's a dynamic player. They got a stable running backs, not to mention the quarterback, big physical offensive line, blitzing, aggressive, dynamic defense, coaching staff, that's stability. Same coaches have been there, same coordinators. I mean, it's going to be a heck of a game. It really is, and we're going to have to play our A game to win, and can't turn the ball over. We're going to have to be staying some drives and hopefully control the clock. But the two teams in the league that are have been over 40 minutes a game so far, I should say three, Minot, because Minot runs the triple, but ourselves and Duluth want to dominate time of possession. So it's going to be a battle of wills. I really think we're very similar philosophy. Want to be aggressive and hard hitting on defense. You want to control the clock, run the football on offense. Probably going to be a relatively low scoring game. I could see it being a 21-24 or a 21-20 or something like that. Be really surprised if it turned into a shootout. But then again, 2 years up there, they beat us, I think it was 42-34. So that was a shootout. So maybe it will be. But either way, it's going to be a challenge, no doubt. I think they're top 10, 15 in the country. So a highly ranked opponent coming in, and they're smarting off last year. They had a rough stretch there where I think they lost 3 one-score or one-possession games in a row. Ourselves, Augie, and maybe Moorhead, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. So they came into our place in week 7 or 8 last year. It's going to be a heck of a football game, and it's a Hall of Fame game, and it's inducting Luke Papillion into the Hall of Fame in the 2016 squad. So that's exciting, and hopefully it's going to be a beautiful day for some football at the Bob.
Yeah, Coach, we're excited. I was going to mention, Coach Wiese, you said he's been there 13 season. He has a 107-27 record, and I'll do the math for you. That's like almost 80%, 79 point something percent winning percentage. So he wins a high percentage, or the Bulldogs win a high percentage of the games since he's been a head coach. However, his record against USF is 2-5, and so the Cougars have kind of had coach's number in those years. It started off with 2013. They actually beat Sam's team that season 32-7, but then USF reeled off 4 straight. And then you mentioned 2 years ago, Duluth won up there, but then last year you guys beat them 24-21. And in addition to that, Duluth has never won at Bob Young Field. And I know they like to complain about that trip and things like that, but it's one of those things where I'm not superstitious at all, Coach.
Try not to hear all that stuff. That's rat poison, as Nick Saban would say. I don't want to hear that rat poison. That's just motivation for them, right? No.
Well, yeah, and it is what it is. But yeah, they've struggled here. It's one of those things where the Cougars aren't going to go in there taking them lightly.
No. No, not at all. And they're a well-coached outfit. They're physical. Again, for the 4th week in a row, we face another staff with a former Sioux Falls connection. I mean, it's incredible, right? I think it was Coach Bresky in week 1, obviously. Then week 2, of course, you had Northern State with some of those ties. And maybe Northern didn't have anybody on staff.
Glasgow played here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Glasgow. That's why I said that. And then last week, of course, Joe Ford and all that stuff and some of those things. But, yeah, so for the 4th week in a row, we are playing a team that had a guy that's coached here, which is crazy, and so that's cool for Sioux Falls from that standpoint, but pretty unusual. But so he'll know some of our players, obviously. He was with Joe Ford on the same staff, I believe, and good coach. Luke Olson, right, is what I'm thinking of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good coach. They play well up front, and Chase Vogler's their OC. I've known him for a long time. Another former player, coach at his old alma mater again, and Trey Dill's the DC. He's been there a long time, and John Seiger and those guys. I mean, just really good, classy football program and tough, hard-nosed outfit. And yeah, I'm glad we got him at home. I don't want to take another 6-hour bus trip, but with that being said, we're looking forward to it, and we're going to have a great week of practice and put it all together another week.
Yeah, well, you got plenty of bus trips to look forward to later on this season. But right now, let's preview that game. So you mentioned it's going to be at the Bob, Sioux Falls. Get out to the game. Kickoff scheduled for 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. You can watch online if you're not able to make it on the NSIC network. I believe Midwest Sports Plus is also picking it up. But watch online. Otherwise, you can listen on KWSN 98.1 FM, 12:30 a.m., 12:30 pregame show with Tom Frederick, Tim Hyatt, and sideline buddy Chad Birger. As far as that goes, I highly recommend the game enhancement experience. Bring that radio out to the game. Okay, you can throw in earbuds. You can sync the earbuds up to the Walkman, Sam. You don't need the big old, ear muff ones with the fuzzy speakers and whatnot. But
I'll try my best. We'll have to see. And as the resident Coup Coachcast meteorologist, I did just check the weather this morning, and it is we've had some little bit of rain last night. Going to be a little spotty end of the week. Don't be shocked, Coach. End of the week. Saturday though looks gorgeous. Excellent tailgate weather, game weather. But it'll be good. It'll force the guys to focus up. And Chad is not trying to be superstitious at all. He's a numbers guy. You got to remember this, Coach. He speaks only in like binary numbers, data, that kind of stuff. He's just trying to say that we're expecting a one-score game, and it's going to be close. It's going to be a battle, and that's all we're looking forward to. And so that's exactly, I think, what Chad was trying to get at. So no bulletin board material here for the Bulldogs. We're expecting a good game, and we're looking forward to it. There's a stretch here coming up. As a football fan, you got to be excited. I think a ton of things to be excited about this Cougar football team, and I'm excited to see where you guys stand here in these next few weeks.
Yeah, obviously looking at this week alone, we're going to find out a lot about our football team. We're going to be challenged like we've never been challenged. There's a really good chance we can find ourselves maybe trailing in this game, and we've got to be able to handle all that, the ebbs and flows of it. And like I said, even my time at Mankato, this has always been a very tough physical matchup. They do some things that are unique defensively. Offensively, my experiences say it's going to be a physical quarterback, going to have the ball in his hand a lot. And both teams are going to try to impose their will and probably be somewhere in the middle. Both teams will make some plays, and hopefully we come out on top. We'll see.
Well, Coach, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully the Cougars are able to draw a crowd, as rowdy and rambunctious as a couple weeks ago at home against Northern, and it should be a great atmosphere for football this Saturday.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. There's no doubt. And every coach will tell you that. But the cowbells, my wife's all about the cowbells, and my daughter. And so getting people out there to support us, getting behind the kids, especially behind our bench, that gives us juice, and that's important. And it gets to be third down. I mean, last year I think we had an interception to seal the game against them as well. And I remember the crowd being loud then. And so, we need all the help we can get. It's going to take everybody.
All right, Coach. Hey, any final comments before we log off for the day?
Appreciate you guys, man. Looking forward to a great day on Saturday.
All right. Well, thanks to Unlimited Painting and Atomic Wings of Sioux Falls, as well as Tom Frederick, Tim Hyatt, Matt Witwicky, the USF Athletic Department, and the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference. For Coach Jim Glogowski and Sam Dooyema, I'm Chad Birger. Until next time, go Cougars.